Thanks, Thomas. Okay, so we're in the part of writing Docker files. So as I said, these are the, let's say, three main parts. You can include many more things, but we're going to start with the basic Dockerfile. And I think it's better here. So if you see this file, Dockerfile, actually just you can call it, that file, you can put any name, but the usual way is to call it Dockerfile. And in that Dockerfile, I'm gonna show you what we have. Just these are just comments, so don't worry about these ones. So basically, these ones are just comments, so don't worry about that. Actually, I could erase some of them, but let's say we're gonna create a Docker file and with only 3 lines. So I'm gonna so I'm gonna create this new. I'm gonna call it that way. I'm gonna show you why in a moment. Dockerfile. I call. Oops. I'm gonna call it new Dockerfile, and I'm gonna start with, again, we have these 3 basic lines from, which is the image base, run, which is the commands that we run in a shell, and cmd is the command that is going to be run by default. So this one is oops, sorry. So we're going to use Alpine for this one, and we're going to run just the same that I have here. If you remember, we when we run the Alpine container, yes.
You have to have the Alpine container downloaded or somewhere. No, so it knows. Okay.
We're gonna build it. Yeah, just from Alpine, we're gonna run. You remember that we run the container, the Alpine container, and then we install their Python 3. And that's the command line that we're going to include here in run. So it's apk add Python 3. And the cmd is the command line that it's going to run as soon as I run the container from that image. So there are 2 ways to include this command line, but we're gonna use the best one is the basically I'm gonna ask the container to execute Python 3 and then version. So once I run this container, so this is the Docker file. I'm going to build the image. We're going to build the image, and then we're going to run a container from that image. And that container, as soon as I run it, it's going to run the command Python 3 version. So what I'm going to see as a result of of running this container is the version of the Python that I have installed. And then we're going to see what else we can do in the container. So this is the Dockerfile, nothing else. Well, we can do this as, if you remember, I showed you these Dockerfiles in Docker Hub. And these are very long Docker files, so you can do whatever you want to do there. So, so as I said at the beginning, usually we call this Docker file, or we can put any name. If, this is the, if the, okay, let me come here. If if you name the file Dockerfile, then you can run this second command, docker image build -t. It's the name of the container image. Again, you can put whatever you want to put there. Dot. This command basically looks for the Docker file in your current directory and then build the image from that Docker file. But if, as in this case, I didn't, I named the file new _ Docker file, then I'm going to use the first line, which is again the command docker image build, the name of the file, and the name of the image. Dot. It's in the directory, the same directory. So I'm going to run the first one. So it's going to be docker image build file, and the name of the file is new _ Docker file, and then -t. And here you see I put here username / container image name. The username again is if you have an account on Docker Hub. Well, that's the username that you put here. And the image name, since I don't have an account in Docker Hub, I can put here any name. But of course, the name is, remember that this is the image base is Alpine. So I'm going to put this Alpine -Python, because I installed Python in that that's the command that I included here. Dot. And then it runs, install everything. As you can see, actually, if you see here, it says step 1 out of 3. The first one is from Alpine. That's the base image. 2 of 3, run apk add Python 3. So install everything. And then the last one, step 3. So it goes, when you build the image, it goes through every line in the Docker file. And then it says at the end, successfully tagged Alpine-Python ;latest. Then I can do the usual, docker run Alpine Python latest, which is the last version, right? Well, it's the only one that I have. Maybe I have other ones, but but this is the latest version. So again, what we should see here is the, yep.
We should have an existing image to create a Dockerfile.
We have to?
We should have an existing image to create a Dockerfile. Or we can create a Dockerfile to get some image of the Podman.
Let me. No, nothing. This is just this is the Docker file. This is what we have, nothing else. Then when we run docker image build, it does all these things. You know, you remember this one is important. This line is important. This is our friend, daemon. He's playing around in Docker. So sending build context to Docker daemon, he takes care of everything. So he runs from Alpine, which is the base image. You don't have to install anything. Just run the Dockerfile, and it does everything. Then that's the image. You build the image. Now you're going to run the container from that image. So you do docker run alpine Python latest. And as I said, since this is a Dockerfile, again, when we build this image from Alpine, we installed Python 3, and I'm asking directly to, once I run the container, to print the version of the Python that I installed. So that's what I'm supposed to see here, Python 3.12.12. But let's say that I want to, so you see that with these 3 lines, I built an image and run a container from that image. And this container has Alpine, which is a Linux, it's Linux, very like Linux distribution. I installed Python 3, and then I can go, actually if I can access, oops. Why is it doing that? Okay, good. So it's SH, it's not partial. Sorry, I was using, let me go back and I'll show you again. So again, in this container, the output is the version of the Python that I installed in the Dockerfile. But I can have access to the container. So I run docker run. I'm gonna remove it as soon as I exit the container, -it and alpine Python, which is the image that I'm running, and sh is the shell in Alpine. So I'm already here in I can see the file system. I can go to home, and in home I can run Python, which was the one that we installed here. If you remember before, it's Python 3.12.12. It's here, and then I can use Python to do whatever I want to do. Or again, I can do anything here. So congratulations if you hadn't done that before. You build your first image from a Dockerfile, a very simple one with 3 lines, and then you have a container. You run a container from that image, and if you want to, you can share that image to anybody else and have a very light container. Once you have your Dockerfile, your image, you can push this again if you want to push your image to Docker Hub. Again, you need an account to do that, but then you do Docker image push and the name of the container image. And with your username, which is the username for Docker Hub. Any questions? Then here, again, for this Dockerfile, you can start adding a lot of things, but I think it's a good practice to start adding things here. You can, here, for instance, we use Alpine, but you can use Ubuntu if you want to. And if you're not sure, you can take a look at Docker Hub and find what other distributions you can find to use as a base image. Okay, so now let's go to let's talk now about Apptainer. And okay. Now let's talk about Apptainer. Apptainer, again, it's formerly known as Singularity. Probably, I think some of you have Singularity. But in principle, the commands work in both an Apptainer and Singularity. Apptainer is a free and open source container platform. Again, you can create and run applications in isolated environments in a simple, portable, fast, and secure manner. It performs at operating system level, like Docker and Podman. And it is mainly, or it's suitable for high-performance computing, HPC, HTC systems. And it allows to build and run containers in few steps, most of the cases. And for instance, it has a single file-based container images, which facilitates the distribution, archiving, and sharing. It has the ability to run in any system, modern system, also to be installed without any privileges. Preserves the permissions in the environment. You're going to see there's an important difference with Docker and Podman. I'm going to show you in a moment. The user outside the container can be the same user inside. If you remember, I showed you in this container, these Docker containers and Podman containers, the containers are completely isolated. The host name is different to the user container, but in Apptainer, is the same, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. It has simple integration with resource managers and distributed computing frameworks because it runs as a regular application, and well, it has a minimum overhead, no extra processes after initializing the container. It's really easy to use. I'm not sure if it is easy to install, but at least to use it is. Okay, so we're gonna pull an image using Apptainer. Well, for Apptainer again, we have I have this version 1.20. If you have a different version, well, that's fine. It should work without any problems. And also we have a help if you want to take a look at this. And it's always important. I mean, of course, you can also go to the reference online, but this is maybe a faster way to do that using the command lines, and there are already some examples to use help here or go to the website. But sorry, okay. We're gonna pull an image. It's the hello world image.sif. I'm gonna explain that in a moment. And we're going to pull that image from this place. And if you run this line, you're going to see something happening on your laptop. It's going to pull the image. In my case, I already pulled that image, and it doesn't, since I already pulled that image, it's not going to pull that image again. And there is a cache list. I'm going to show you here. So these are the images that I have pulled, and that one is, this one should be, this one should be the last one. Yep. And yep. Yep. So it doesn't pull it again. And I'm going to run it. Apptainer, run. So if you see, it's the same, basically the same syntax that we use for Docker and Podman, so it's, again, easy to use. And for some reason, I get this info here, which is not important, but this is what it prints. It's a raw avocado. This is what it does. So again, this hello world image, when I run a container from that image, it prints out that raw avocado. I don't know what that means, but that's okay. So I can run, again, commands in an Apptainer container. Let's run this one. So execute hello world.sif. I'm going to ask to print bonjour. So again, forget this first line. I don't know why I'm getting that line, but bonjour. Sorry my pronunciation, but je ne parle pas français. Je suis désolé. Okay. Or we can, again, access the container. We can go to the shell. So it says Singularity again, Singularity or Apptainer. And I can see, I can start playing a little bit around. And this is the really nice part about the Apptainer. And when you see an important difference, at least locally, I mean, we're not going to go this in HPC systems. We don't have access to that here today. So if you see, if I list the files that I have, I mean, I'm inside the container in Apptainer. But when I list the files, it lists the files that I have in my home as a user. You see, example.df, example.sif, etc., etc. These are not files in the container. These are files in my home. So we are running a container which has access to our file system. I mean, in a different way than Docker and Podman. So, and I can, for instance, I can go up. So, I mean, I can explore everything. Actually, I can, what is the host? Well, let me see, who am I? Alex. You remember, let me do that here. This is my user space. Who am I? I'm Alex. This is outside the container. This is the inside the container, where I can, the host name, print the host name, Alex, ID a path, blah, 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 blah. That's inside the container, and this is outside the container. It's the same. if you remember, for Podman and Docker, it was completely isolated. So it's very nice to see that, because then I have access to, and I can create, I don't know, let me see, I don't want to break anything here. Apparently that doesn't help. I don't know, I'm gonna do touch new.txt. And look at that, I created a new file in the container, but that new file, let's check where that is. This is outside the container, but I created a new file inside the Apptainer container. So that's one of the advantages, and Apptainer doesn't use this, doesn't have these root privileges, so it's really nice, in particular for what you were mentioning before for HPC, HTC. This is really nice to have all these properties. We can have, let me exit here. As if you see, this is the image that I put before, hello world. Let me see if I, yep, this is the image that I pulled. And you see it has a .sif extension, which is an extension for Apptainer. But I can pull also images from Docker Hub. Like in this case, we're going to pull this image. I'm going to see what happens. So it's Apptainer pull Python 3.9.6 .sif sif docker, and this is where it is, docker, again the name of the image, and the tag 3.9.6 slim buster. And again, in my case, it already exists, so it's not going to do that again. Let me see. Oh, sure. So, well, it's one of them. Not sure which one, but it's one of them. So it's already installed, and then I can run that one just with Apptainer again, run Python, and it goes exactly to Python 3.9.6, so I can again do whatever I want to do there. If you run this for the first time, you're going to see that Apptainer converts this Docker image to a .sif file. So we can use, we can pull any image from Docker Hub without any problem. And, well, of course, again, as in Podman and Docker, we were pulling images, but it's really cool if we can build our own image. In order to build an image in an Apptainer, we have to define a file. Well, we have a definition file, which is this one that we see here. And that in that definition file, we have this bootstrap, which basically it says Docker, which uses the Docker system from, and again we have some similar lines to the Docker and Podman, to the Dockerfile. We have from, again we define a base image, and post we include all the, it's similar to run in the Dockerfile, the lines that we want to, what we put in a shell to be run. And run script, this is what we want the image to do, to print bonjour again. And to build that image, what we do is Apptainer build file name, in this case is example, it's how I want to call it. Call it example underscore 10.if sif, and the name of the definition file, in this case it's example.dev. And then start building. So it's building the image, it's creating the zip file. Okay. Then if I check here, this is example underscore 10.zip, that's the image. And then we can run that image. Apptainer run example 10, and it prints here bonjour. Again, sorry for my pronunciation. And again, you can do this definition file as complex as you want to. It depends, again, on what you want to do and what you want to include. Just, I mean, if you are just starting writing your Docker files, in the case of Podman, or the definition files in Apptainer, just try to keep it simple and then build from that layer by layer. Is there any question, comments? Yep.
So that means that if you transform your Docker image into Apptainer image, it will be easy afterwards to get access to your local file system. As compared to what we would have got with Docker. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Is it the reason why you should us this trick? Because I don't want the point otherwise.
What for? Okay, let me show you this again. That was for the example that I showed you before, right? Which one was this one? I'm in the container here, right? And then if I list the files that I have, these are the files that I have. Yeah. And I cannot do that with Docker and Podman. I can do that. I mean, with Docker, yeah, it's very convenient. With Docker and Podman, I can copy external files to the container, or from the container to the.
Yeah, but you can have access also to the volumes, and you define volumes inside the Docker or Podman.
Yes, yes.
We somehow have the same thing. Right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I think it's easier here because it's. I mean, you don't have to do anything else. It's already here on your screen, right? Yeah, but it's true. You can in Docker and Podman you can the volume but that's.
And the thing that is great is that when you run Apptainer, you have the same user ID you know, in the container and in local file system. If you are using Docker, you run Docker, you are maybe root in Docker with ID 0. If you create file with the with a mount in the local file system, the owner will be root. So outside the container, you have a root file that, and the owner of the file is root. So you have in your home directory a file that you can't destroy. You have to run the container again and destroy the file. So you can change all this thing with Docker, but you have to do it. And with Apptainer, it's more easy. It's the same with Podman.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yes. It will not be root. It's another ID. Yes, but it's not your ID. So you have to manage the owner of the file. And with Apptainer, you don't have.
And as I show you, you can create a file here, and I mean from the container, and it's also in the user and the local file system. So it's really nice to. I mean, it's easier for you to play with that. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so the idea again was to cover the basics of Docker, Podman, Apptainer, again, scratch the surface. And there are many, many more things. We only talked about one container, how to pull, how to run a container, how to write a Docker file, how to build an image from that Docker file, how to run a container from that image in Docker and Podman and Apptainer, using simple cases. So if you're not familiar, I hope now you can at least write a simple Docker file and then build an image from that Docker file and then run a container from that image. And the really nice thing about that is that you have control of what you want to do. So you can include those things in Docker. So for instance, I show you how to install Python in Alpine, one of the containers, but you can include that directly as I show you in the Dockerfile. So it comes already with the image. So if you remember at the beginning, and let's see if it works again, the idea for you is to create this the peak of a container in which at the end of the day you're going to be able to run the analysis, the same analysis, and generate the plot. Of course, the advantage of using a Docker an image, a container image in general, a container image is that you can share that container image with anybody. And if that person has, or Docker or Podman or Apptainer can run that image and can reproduce your results, can run the same analysis, can get the same plots. So at the beginning I show you this, I'm going to show you this again. So again, if you at the beginning didn't have any idea about containers, I hope at least you have a general idea now. Then this is what I did at the beginning. Sorry. This is what I did at the beginning. I told you that I already have my pcoffee Docker file, and I built the image from that Docker file, and this is the way to do it, as I showed you before, Docker build or Podman build -t and the name of the container dot. So it looks for the Docker file in the directory where you're running this command. And then, I'm not going to do that part, it takes a couple of minutes. Again, that's my version. You can develop your version, I'm sure much better than mine, much lighter than mine. And then we can run that image with this command. And I'm doing this because I'm using a web server later. Let me go to where that is. It's doesn't matter. Okay, Docker run it -p 8000. So what I'm doing here is to run the image again. Okay, seems to work now. So again, I have the Docker file, the Docker file. Sorry if I'm yeah. I build an image from that Docker file, and then I'm gonna run, and I call that image Alex. You remember the username / my username is Alex / pcoffee _ project. That's the name of the image, and then it runs. Well, so I enter to the container. I'm in the container, and in this pcoffee environment, I define the container to get in the pcoffee environment. And in this working directory, pcoffee, you can define that in the Dockerfile where you want to start your container. And here, then I use the commands that we have for the analysis, the pcoffee analysis. So we have data file analysis, the file, this .csv file, the output. I want the output to be analysis again, and we set feeder models .toml, and I want to show the rankings. And then it runs. Well, again, I'm inside the container, the pcoffee container. But again, I wrote my Docker file. I built an image from that Docker file. Then I'm running the container from that image, or a container from that image. And inside that container, which includes all all that you have done during these last few days, I get the model rankings. It's here. And I'm going to plot again. This is what I did at the beginning. So it's the coffee.csv. And then we have, model analysis. Models analysis, fitted models. And then we're going to save the output in the same place, and we're going to call it productivity plot, plot.png. Just be careful here with pcoffee. Okay. So it builds everything, and then with Python 3, http.server. Then I have here the link. I can copy this link and copy this link here. I have all the directories and files here, and I have the one that I want to see, which is the plot again that we are using, or we are getting in this pcoffee analysis. So again, I could share that image that I created, the pCoffee project. Sorry again. And if somebody wants to run that image and that person has Docker or Podman, Apptainer can be able to run these two lines, well, these 3 lines, and get this plot. Doesn't matter if that person is using Mac OS or Windows or whatever. Can run the container, run these 3 lines, get the analysis and the plot, and can see the results here. So the idea is for you to do that. I'm going to ask you to do during the last 30, 40 minutes something on your own. And if you have any questions, I can see that. But here's the idea. I show you this one. We created an image from this Dockerfile, this new _Dockerfile, and this is just with 3 lines. We built an image with Alpine, and we added Python 3, and then that image, when I run that image, when I run a container from that image, I can see the Python 3 version, but I can get inside that container and work on that. So since I know that some people, this is new for some people, the idea is that for you to see if what you can do if you add, for instance, if you want to add R here, or if you want to use instead of Alpine, Ubuntu, and write your own Dockerfile, build your image, and run a container from that image. Just the basic steps. And then start looking at the different possibilities here. For instance, you can check the Docker docs here and see what else you can include, for instance, in run. From. There are other options here. For instance, you could set the environment, and there is, I don't see, for instance, you can copy or add, you can copy a file. Let me see if, for instance, here, there's this example with copy. The working directory, for instance, you can include the working directory, which is this one. Where do you want to start the container? So just play around a little bit, try to understand what you do when you run this Dockerfile, simple one. And if you are more advanced, I know many people here know how to do that, but if you want to go a little bit beyond that, okay, I'm going to show you, by the way, I'm going to advertise this, if you allow me to do that. This is, you can find the HSF Training Center. On this website we have, if you go to self-study, well, we have different materials for different topics, from basic ones to more advanced ones. And you can go here to Docker. And in Docker, you can go to the last episode here, 9. And this is how to build and how to deploy a Docker container to GitHub packages. So I know some of you have already advanced knowledge on containers. So you can practice this, just follow these instructions. For instance, to to install Python packages using a Docker image, which is this one. This is the Dockerfile, and using Ubuntu and running a bunch of packages. Some here are for high-level physics, so that's fine if you don't want to include them, but you can include some, for instance, some like NumPy, Matplotlib, which are where you can include any other. And then you can follow these 6 to publish Docker images with GitHub packages. So if you haven't done that, so you have to use GitHub CI/CD. Here are the steps to do that with the YAML file. So does that sound good to you? Is it okay? Again, if you still want to understand how this works, just start modifying this Dockerfile, or add, remove, whatever you want to do, and build the image, run a container, see what happens. But if you're more advanced, you can, if you haven't done that before, you can build and deploy a Docker container to GitHub pages and see how it works. Of course, with the YAML file. Okay, so again, for this one, just look for the HSF Training Center, and then go to HSF Training. Actually, I think this is this one, hsftraining.org. And here in Docker, you'll find the last episode here. Okay, so in the last 30 minutes, we can do that, and if you have any questions, okay.